His fist shot forward, cracking against Minsik's jaw. Gasps erupted. The bully staggered back, eyes wide more with shock than pain. "You little!" Minsik roared, charging. The yard turned into a coliseum. Inmates circled, shouting, some egging them on, others warning guards. Fists flew, the sharp sound of knuckle on flesh echoing in the air. Minsik swung heavy, wild punches, but Lee Young fought with a quiet, desperate precision. He ducked, countered, drove his elbow into the bully's ribs. Blood sprayed as Minsik's nose broke. But the older man grabbed Lee Young by the collar, slamming him against the wall. The world blurred. Lee Young fought for breath, clawing, until instinct drove his knee upward, connecting hard with Minsik's stomach. The giant stumbled. Lee Young pushed him off, both men heaving, sweat dripping, eyes burning with fury. "Enough!" a guard's voice bellowed. Sirens wailed, boots pounded against concrete. Within seconds, batons were raised, bodies shoved to the ground. Lee Young found his cheek pressed to the cold floor, wrists locked in handcuffs. Around him, voices blurred into chaos. By the time order was restored, Minsik was groaning in pain, bloodied and bruised. Lee Young's lip was split, one eye swelling shut. For the first time since his imprisonment, the quiet fraudster had shown a side no one expected. He could fight back. And that fight, unavoidable, undeniable, would change the course of his life.
A fox on the ridge, shadows at play, nine tails weaving through the break of day.
Long before iron bars and concrete walls defined his world, Lee Young was a boy with dreams that glowed brighter than the neon lights of Seoul. Born in a cramped apartment above his father's repair shop, he grew up watching his family struggle. His mother worked 2 jobs, and his father's failing business barely kept food on the table. Still, Young wasn't bitter. He was smart, gifted even, with computers. From the first time he touched an old desktop his father had repaired, he became obsessed with the hidden world inside its screen. By the time he was a teenager, he could dismantle and rebuild operating systems, write simple programs, and fix errors faster than his teachers. The internet became both his playground and his classroom. But brilliance without guidance can be dangerous. In university, surrounded by wealthier classmates with expensive clothes and foreign holidays, Young felt the weight of his poverty. He was the outsider, the scholarship kid who couldn't afford coffee dates or textbooks without selling something online. Jealousy began to gnaw at him. That's when he stumbled into the dark corners of the web. What started as curiosity, chat rooms about hacking, forums sharing leaked codes, slowly turned into opportunity. Young discovered just how easy it was to phish unsuspecting victims with fake websites, to steal credit card numbers, to sell stolen data for cryptocurrency. At first, it was small, just enough to cover tuition and buy his mother a new rice cooker. But greed, like a flame, spreads quickly. Within 2 years, Young was running a full-fledged fraud operation with a small circle of online partners. They targeted foreigners, Europeans, Americans, Africans, sending emails that promised lottery winnings, fake investments, romance scams. Money poured in, faster than he ever imagined. For the first time in his life, Young felt powerful. He wore branded clothes, drove a second-hand car, treated friends to expensive dinners. Nobody asked where the money came from. But success comes with shadows. One of Young's victims was a Nigerian businessman who had been scammed of thousands of dollars. The man reported it, and international cybercrime agencies began tracing the fraudulent accounts. They followed digital fingerprints, tiny mistakes left behind in Young's coding. His partners were sloppy, but Young thought he was untouchable. Until the morning the police stormed his apartment. He barely had time to shut his laptop before officers pinned him to the floor. The screen was still glowing with emails mid-draft, evidence spilling across digital folders. His mother's terrified screams echoed as they dragged him away in handcuffs. The trial was swift. Prosecutors painted him as a cunning cybercriminal who had cheated dozens across continents. The media called him the Korean scam artist. His face was plastered across newspapers, his university expelled him, and his father refused to appear in court out of shame. Young pleaded guilty to reduce his sentence. The judge's gavel struck, and with it, his world collapsed. 5 years in prison. At first, Young thought prison would crush him. The cold mornings, the endless roll calls, the stares of hardened criminals. It was a world far removed from glowing screens. But Young endured, staying quiet, blending in, and counting the days until his release. Until the day Minsik pushed him too far. And that fight, though reckless, would draw the attention of prison authorities in ways Young could never have predicted. The infirmary smelled of antiseptic and stale air. Lee Young sat on the edge of a narrow bed, his lips swollen and a deep bruise blooming across his cheekbone. A guard stood watch at the door, baton tapping idly against his thigh. Across the room, Minsik lay groaning, nose packed with gauze, ribs wrapped tight. Even in pain, he glared at Young like a wounded lion promising revenge. The fight had rattled the prison. Fights weren't unusual, but this one had been different. Young was not known for violence. He had kept his head down, served his time quietly, never asking for favors or joining cliques. For him to explode in such a way drew immediate attention. Later that evening, Young found himself seated in a small, stark office. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A panel of 3 officials stared at him from behind a table. Warden Kong, stern and sharp-eyed. Officer Jae-hyun, the prison counselor, and a government representative from the Ministry of Justice. Lee Young, Warden Kong began, voice clipped. You are months away from finishing your sentence. Yet you've now been involved in one of the most serious altercations this facility has seen in recent months. Explain yourself. Young's throat was dry. He clenched his fists to stop them from shaking. Sir, I didn't start it. Minsik has been bullying inmates for years. I tried to avoid him, but today he crossed a line. I only defended myself. The counselor leaned forward, studying him. You've kept a low profile until now. But your record outside this prison is not one of innocence, is it? He tapped a folder stuffed with papers, evidence from Young's fraud case. Brilliant mind, wasted on scams and deception. You could have built something real, yet you chose shortcuts. Shame washed over Young. He lowered his gaze. The government representative, a woman in her 40s with a calm but calculating tone, spoke next. Korea has a problem. Too many young men like you, bright, talented, are falling into cybercrime. We want to change that. Her words hung heavy in the room. Young frowned, confused. Warden Kong cleared his throat. After reviewing your behavior, intelligence, and this incident, we've decided to recommend you for a rehabilitation program. It's a pilot project, supported by both the Korean and Nigerian governments. Young blinked. Nigeria? Yes, the representative replied. Nigeria is one of the fastest-growing tech hubs in Africa. They've agreed to host select inmates from Korea who show potential for reform. You'll undergo 1 year of intensive training in software development, cybersecurity, and digital entrepreneurship. If you complete it, you'll be guaranteed employment in a Korean tech company upon your return. The room went silent except for the hum of the fluorescent light. Young's mind spun. It sounded impossible. A criminal like him, given a second chance? Officer Jae-hyun spoke gently. This fight may have saved you. Had you remained invisible, you would have simply served your sentence and walked out, with no support, no job, no direction. But now, you've drawn attention to yourself. We see someone worth salvaging. The word struck deep. Worth salvaging. For the first time in years, Young felt a spark of something he thought prison had beaten out of him. Hope. Of course, there were conditions. He had to sign an agreement of good conduct. He would be monitored closely during the program. And failure to complete it meant not only the loss of opportunity, but also the extension of his criminal record. Still, Young signed without hesitation. Weeks later, shackled yet strangely free in his spirit, he boarded a plane for Lagos. Through the tiny oval window, he watched the Korean peninsula disappear beneath clouds. Ahead lay a world he knew nothing about, a land of new rhythms, faces, and chances. He did not know that waiting there was someone who would change his destiny more than any government program ever could. Imelda, the woman with a smile sweeter than the peanuts she sold. The heat hit him first. As soon as Lee Young stepped out of the airport in Lagos, a wall of humid air wrapped around him. thicker and hotter than anything he'd ever felt in Seoul. The sun blazed high, burning into his skin, and the air was alive with noise. Honking cars, shouting vendors, the distant thrum of Afrobeat music pulsing from a radio. For a moment, he felt small and lost. Korea was orderly, predictable. Here, chaos had its own rhythm, and everyone seemed to move in time with it. "Welcome to Nigeria," said the program coordinator, a cheerful man named Chuka, who had been assigned to pick him up. He spoke fluent Korean with a heavy accent, his smile wide and genuine. "You will adjust. Lagos has its way of overwhelming strangers at first, but soon, you will see its beauty." Young managed a small bow, suitcase in hand. "Thank you." The drive from the airport was a blur of sights and sounds. Yellow Danfo buses crammed with passengers, street hawkers balancing trays of goods on their heads, skyscrapers rising beside old colonial buildings. It was messy, loud, alive. Young stared out of the window, equal parts nervous and fascinated. His destination was a training facility on the outskirts of the city, built as part of a joint initiative between Korea and Nigeria. The campus buzzed with young Nigerians eager to learn coding, app design, and cybersecurity. Young, despite his status as a foreign inmate on probation, was welcomed cautiously but politely. Classes began immediately. From morning to evening, he was immersed in workshops, coding labs, and team projects. At first, it was overwhelming. The Nigerian students were confident, outspoken, and competitive. They teased him about his quietness, but not unkindly. Slowly, he adapted, his natural intelligence allowing him to keep up. But it wasn't the programming that caught his attention most. It was her. He noticed her one afternoon during lunch break. She wasn't a student, she was a vendor. A tall, dark-skinned woman with glowing skin, a curvy figure, and a smile that seemed to light up the courtyard. Her name was Imelda, and she sold small packets of crunchy peanuts wrapped neatly in clear nylon bags. "Groundnut. Fresh groundnut. Sweet like honey," she called in a sing-song voice, moving gracefully between groups of students. Laughter followed her. Even the sternest trainers bought from her just to enjoy her banter. Young sat at a bench, chewing plain rice from his lunchbox, when she stopped near him. "You," she said, tilting her head at him. "New face. You want peanuts?" Her English was lightly accented, her tone playful. Young blinked, startled by her directness. He wasn't used to women approaching him so boldly. Yes," he stammered, fumbling for Naira notes he barely understood the value of. She laughed, the sound rich and melodious. "Don't worry, I will not cheat you. I know you are not from here." She handed him a small packet, her fingers brushing his lightly. "Eat. It will make you strong for your coding." Heat rose in his cheeks, and it wasn't from the Lagos sun. From that day on, Young found himself waiting for her every afternoon. She always came with her basket, hair tied up in a colorful scarf, hips swaying as she walked. Her confidence fascinated him, her easy laughter a sharp contrast to the grim silence of prison life he'd left behind. "Your name?" she asked him one day, squatting beside him as he struggled with a line of code on his laptop. "Lee. Young," he said carefully. She smiled, rolling the syllables on her tongue. "Young. I like it. I am Imelda. Now you know me." He nodded, smiling despite himself. Weeks passed, and their encounters grew longer. She would sit with him, telling stories about Lagos traffic, about her younger siblings, about her dream to one day expand her peanut business into packaged snacks sold across Nigeria. Young listened intently, his Korean reserve melting under her warmth. Sometimes, when the lab lights grew dim and the courtyard emptied, he would catch himself staring at her, wondering how someone so simple and grounded could seem more radiant than all the glamorous women he had once chased with fraud money. Imelda was real, and for a man who had built a false life on lies and deception, real was irresistible. He didn't know it yet, but Lagos was not only teaching him new codes for machines, it was rewriting the code of his own heart. The rainy season had begun in Lagos. Afternoon skies often turned dark without warning, unleashing heavy showers that drummed on rooftops and flooded the streets. For Lee Young, the rain brought a strange comfort. It reminded him of home, Seoul's monsoon days, when he would sit by his window coding for hours. But in Nigeria, the rain came with something else: time. Classes paused when the storms were too heavy, and students huddled under canopies, waiting for the downpour to pass. It was during one of these pauses that his connection with Imelda began to deepen. She arrived at the campus soaked from the knees down, her colorful wrapper clinging to her legs. Her basket of peanuts was covered with a plastic sheet, safe from the rain. Laughing, she shook water from her scarf and joined Young under the shelter. "Ah, Lagos rain, always trying to show us who is boss," she said, wringing the ends of her wrapper. Young smiled faintly. "In Korea, rain also strong. But not like this." Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Tell me, what is Korea like?" It was a simple question, yet for Young it felt heavy. Korea was home, but also the place where he had built lies, hurt people, and landed in prison. Still, he spoke of the mountains, the neon lights of Seoul at night, the taste of hot street tteokbokki in winter. Imelda listened, leaning closer, her head tilted slightly as though storing each word like treasure. When he finished, she grinned. "One day, maybe I will see it. And you will eat real Nigerian jollof rice. Not this small campus food they are giving you." The thought of her in Korea startled him. Yet the idea planted a seed he could not ignore. Days turned into weeks, and their routine became almost sacred. Every afternoon after lectures, Young would find her near the courtyard, basket balanced on her lap. Sometimes she teased him about his accent, making him repeat words until they both laughed. Other times, she shared her dreams, opening a shop, hiring workers, exporting her peanuts. "You see this?" she said one evening, handing him a small pack. "Just ordinary groundnut, yes? But with good packaging, with good marketing, people will pay double, triple. Even Koreans like you will buy." Young chuckled, munching the peanuts slowly. "Yes, Koreans like snack very much. You," she pointed, laughing. "When I become rich, I will remember you were my first Korean customer." For Young, these moments were more than playful exchanges. They were healing. He had spent years lying, manipulating, chasing quick money. But Imelda's world was simple, honest, full of hustle and hope. She worked hard for every naira she earned, her hands calloused from roasting peanuts, her heart untouched by bitterness. He found himself drawn not only to her beauty, the curve of her hips, the glow of her skin, but to her spirit. She was unbreakable, yet soft in ways he could not explain. One late evening, the campus emptied after a long coding hackathon. Young stayed behind, exhausted, staring blankly at his laptop screen. Imelda appeared quietly, setting down a flask beside him. "Drink," she said. "Pepper soup. You look like you will faint." He hesitated, then opened it. The spicy aroma hit him instantly, making his eyes water. He took a cautious sip and coughed, earning a burst of laughter from her. "Too hot for you," she teased. Young shook his head, swallowing more despite the fire on his tongue. "No good. Very good." Her laughter softened into a smile, and for a long moment, they simply sat there, sharing food, sharing silence. Finally, Young spoke, voice low. "Imelda, why you always kind to me?" She tilted her head. "Because I see you. Others, they only see a foreigner, maybe a criminal because of the program you came with. But me? I see a man who is trying. And that is enough." His chest tightened. No one had spoken to him like that since his mother. He looked at her, really looked at the strength in her eyes, the curve of her lips, and for the first time in years, the thought struck him like lightning. Maybe he was worthy of love. From that night, something shifted. Their conversations carried a new weight, their laughter lingered longer, their silences grew warmer. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, Young surprised her. He reached out, fingers brushing hers as she handed him another pack of peanuts. She looked down at their joined hands, then up at him. For a heartbeat, time froze. Imelda didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled softly, her dimples deepening. "Careful, Young. Nigerian women are not easy to love." "I will try," he whispered, the words heavy with promise. And with that, their friendship crossed a line into something fragile, uncertain, and beautiful. The training center smelled like solder and fresh coffee, laptops humming in unison like a congregation of machines. Outside, Lagos moved in its usual glorious disarray. Street vendors calling, children darting between cars, a musician somewhere beating a rhythm that slipped through the windows and under their skin. Inside a small community room, walls lined with white boards scarred with diagrams. Lee Young and Imelda sat cross-legged on a faded mat. Rain had come and gone, leaving the air soft and cooler than earlier. A lantern cast a warm pool of light over them. The rest of the campus was quiet for once, tucked into that sleepy hour before midnight. Young's laptop lay closed beside him. He had spent the evening debugging a stubborn piece of code, but his fingers had failed to find the same focus they did with her near. There was a gravity in the way she listened, a patience he had not known in a world that had always demanded profit, not presence. "Imelda," he said finally, voice small as a confession. "There is something I should tell you." She turned, the lantern catching the sparkle in her eyes. He swallowed. In Korea, admissions like this were done in courtrooms with lawyers and calibrated language. Here, under a paper moon and the gentle witness of mosquitoes, it felt impossible to keep the truth folded inside. "I lied," he said. The word tasted like metal. "Not about you. About everything before. About how I lived. I did bad things. I hurt people." Imelda's hand stilled. For a moment, Young feared he had broken the fragile rhythm they'd built. But her face softened, not with pity, but with a sturdiness he'd come to trust. "Tell me," she said. He told her everything, the slow creep from curiosity to conviction, the early rationalizations, the stepped-up scams, the parties and the fast money that had felt like survival at first, and then like armor. He told her about the morning the police had broken down his apartment door, the media calls, the word criminal beneath his face in newspapers. He spoke of his mother's cry that had haunted him on sleepless nights and the long, white days of prison that had honed his mind but battered his pride. When he finished, the room held its breath. The hum of the campus seemed far away. "You could have told me earlier," she said after a long pause, softer than he expected. "I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid you would leave. Afraid you would see me and only remember what I did." Imelda reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm, calloused in the gentle way of someone who worked with their hands. The same hands that had wrapped peanuts in nylon, poured soup, folded bills of change. "Lee Young," she said slowly, "you are not the things you did. You are what you do now." Her words were simple, but for him, they were seismic. He wanted to ask her how she could say such calm things to a man who had once stolen from strangers and lied for profit. But instead he listened. "Do you know why I sell peanuts?" she asked, shifting the subject as if to prove her kindness was not pity. "My father did it before me. He died last year. I have 5 younger siblings. School fees do not pay themselves. These peanuts, they are small, but they feed mouths. They are honest work." Young looked at her, not with the clinical curiosity of a man trained in algorithms, but with the sudden awe of someone seeing sunlight refract through glass. She had chosen a life he recognized, pragmatic, rooted, beautiful because it did not pretend to be anything else. "You trusted me," he whispered. She shrugged, half-smile tugging at one corner of her mouth. "Trust is a risk. But love is also risk. You came here to learn, not to escape. You could have kept lying to stay safe. Instead, you fought a bully in Seoul and came to Lagos to change. That tells me what I need to know." He laughed then, short, incredulous, the sound of a man who had expected the ground to fail beneath him but found it steady. "I never imagined meeting someone like you in a place like this." "You never imagined many things," she said, nudging him with her shoulder. "Like jollof rice being better than your campus food. Or Nigerians teaching you dance moves. Or that someone from Korea would like my peanuts." She paused, eyes narrowing with playful danger. "But now you know." They talked until the lantern guttered, trading stories and half-formed plans. He spoke of the program, how it had given him structure and a promise of employment upon completion. He admitted, embarrassingly, that while inside prison he had written code that helped him survive a different world, and now he wanted to use that skill to build, not break. Imelda spoke of ambitions. She drew a rough blueprint on the back of a receipt, an idea for packaging, for branding Imelda's Crunch, a name she said with a grin. "You can help me design a website," she suggested. "Teach me about payment systems." When you go back to Korea, you can show me how to scale. He considered the absurd poetry of it. Him, a man who had once manipulated online ledgers, now designing a payment gateway so Imelda could sell crunchy peanuts in sealed packets from Lagos to Incheon. Redemption, he found, often arrived with a ridiculous practicality. At one point, the room was so quiet that the sound of rain panting through the air vents was nearly sacred. Young wanted to promise her the moon and more. He wanted to pledge he would never lie again, that he would be the man worthy of her patience. But there is wisdom in measured vows. Instead, he made a smaller promise, a promise he could keep. "I will work," he said simply. "I will study hard. I will come back to Korea and take the job they offer me. And when I can, I will help you. I will help your business grow." Imelda squeezed his hand, a gentle seal on that pact. "Good," she said. "Because when you come back, I will expect a sample of Korean snacks to taste. Also, maybe you bring one of those long coats." She laughed, and so did he, the sound small but genuine. They left the room together as dawn nudged the sky into color. The campus woke around them, students yawning into a new day, vendors already setting out their stalls. They walked slowly, hands brushing, the promise between them no longer a whisper but a quiet, growing certainty. That night, Lee Young slept unlike he had in years, lighter, as if a hand had lifted some heavy weight from his chest. Confession had not destroyed him. Instead, it had made him human again, flawed, accountable, and opening to the possibility that the hard work of rebuilding could be its own kind of love. The graduation ceremony at the Lagos Tech Hub wasn't grand, but to Lee Young it felt more monumental than any certificate he had ever received in his life. A cluster of folding chairs, a small stage with a banner that read "Building Tomorrow's Innovators," and applause that echoed like the sound of renewal. When they called his name, Lee Young, he rose from his seat, hands trembling just slightly. The certificate pressed into his palms felt heavier than paper. It was proof. Proof that a man could stumble, could fall deeply, and still claw his way back to standing. Imelda stood at the back of the hall, dressed in a lemon-yellow gown that made her glow even in the plain fluorescent lights. She cheered loud enough for the whole hall to hear, and Young's heart swelled in a way that was both proud and fragile. Back in Seoul, a month later, Seoul's winter bit into his cheeks as he stepped out of Incheon International Airport. The cold air smelled of home, sea salt, exhaust fumes, and that metallic tang of frost. It was surreal, returning not as an ex-convict under scrutiny, but as a graduate of an international program with government backing. The tech industry welcomed him more warmly than he expected. His placement was at DG Wave Systems, a mid-sized but rapidly growing company specializing in cybersecurity solutions. The irony wasn't lost on him. A man once jailed for online fraud, now tasked with protecting systems from people like his former self. On his first day, the CEO said with a half-smile, "No one knows how thieves think better than those who have stolen. Use that knowledge for good." And Young did. He poured himself into his work, his code sharper than ever, his late nights driven by the image of Imelda selling her peanuts with a smile. Promotions came quickly, but so did invitations, colleagues trying to fold him into after-work dinners, team-building retreats. For the first time, he didn't feel like an outsider carrying a shameful past. He felt useful, even valued. But there was unfinished business. He knew he couldn't move forward with Imelda without going back to his parents. His parents lived in Busan, a quiet life by the sea. The last time they had seen him, it was in a courtroom, his mother weeping into her hands, his father staring blankly at the floor. That memory had shadowed him for years. When he arrived at their doorstep, he almost turned back. But his mother's gasp as she opened the door held both shock and relief. "Young-ah," she whispered, hands flying to her mouth. His father stood behind her, stiff as stone, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside. They sat in silence for a long time, tea cooling on the table. Then Young bowed deeply, forehead almost touching his knees. "I was wrong," he said. "I shamed you. I shamed our name. But I am not the same. I have worked hard. I found someone who believes in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Her name is Imelda. She is Nigerian. She sells peanuts, but she sells them with honor. And I want to marry her." His mother's tears spilled freely again, but this time her sobs carried something softer than grief. His father finally spoke, voice gruff but steady. "If she gave you the courage to stand here and speak like this, then I want to meet her." By summer, Young was on a plane again. This time not as an inmate on transfer, not as a student on assignment, but as a man returning to claim his future. The moment Imelda saw him outside the small Lagos airport, she ran into his arms, her laughter ringing like bells. He held her tightly, silently vowing never to let her go again. The proposal had been done months before in whispers and promises, but now he made it official. Beneath the wide Nigerian sky, surrounded by her siblings who giggled and teased, he knelt with a simple silver ring he had bought with his first proper paycheck. "Imelda," he said, voice shaking, "come with me. Come to Korea. Be my wife, my partner, my home." Her eyes shimmered, and she nodded before the words even left her mouth. Yes, Lee Young. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding was small but radiant. A blend of cultures, Imelda in a white gown with hints of Ankara fabric at the hem, Young in a tailored Korean suit. Her siblings danced joyously, while Young's parents, who had flown in for the ceremony, clapped along awkwardly but earnestly. When his mother embraced Imelda, whispering, "Kamsahamnida, thank you for saving my son," Young nearly broke down. Seoul welcomed them both with a rush of neon lights and ceaseless energy. Imelda marveled at the subways, the endless rows of street food, the winter snow that dusted the city like powdered sugar. She soon began experimenting with her peanuts, roasting, flavoring, packaging with a sleek design. Young helped her code into an online store. Together, they built something that was more than survival. It was legacy. At night, when Young wrapped his arms around her and watched her fall asleep in their small apartment overlooking the Han River, he often thought of that prison cell where he had once believed his life was finished. Now, with Imelda by his side, he knew the truth. His life hadn't ended. It had just begun. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon to get notified when we drop another video. Like and share to your family and friends, and finally tell us where you're watching from in the comments. See you in our next video.